Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report on NTD Television. I'm Steve Lance. Aside from launching investigations into the Biden administration and Hunter Biden, what else will the GOP be zeroing in on? NTD's Melina Wisecup joins us with more details. Melina, House Leader Kevin McCarthy over the weekend revealed more of his top priorities that he'll address in the coming Congress. Tell us, what's he saying?
Right, so one of these top priorities would be setting up a committee on China. Now, McCarthy says the goal with this would be to investigate many areas of the Chinese regime, one being their efforts to steal intellectual property. This has gone on for over 2 decades, and experts estimate this costs the United States anywhere from $200 to $600 billion on average every year. Now, in addition to this, what this select committee on China would be responsible for looking into would be the origins of the COVID-19 virus pandemic, which Republicans already have a select subcommittee on. Now, this would just be a more broad committee focused on this matter. And in addition to this, McCarthy vows to shut down China-backed police stations that are here in the U.S., which we've heard so much about recently. And China is an area where both parties do come together. We could see some strong bipartisan work in this area. And at least on the surface, both Democrats and Republicans have been vocal about the need for the United States to stand up to the China threat. But while this area could be bipartisan, another one will not be. That is McCarthy's efforts to kick 3 Democrats off of committees, one of those Democrats being Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, which Kevin McCarthy made some comments about over the weekend.
I remember what she said about Israel. Remember what she said about the relationship. I remember it so much, I promised you last year that as Speaker, she no longer would be on foreign affairs.
Now, McCarthy accuses Omar of repeatedly making anti-Semitic comments. Omar today responded to this, saying that this is a racially charged threat. Now, the 2 other Democrats that McCarthy is hopeful to remove from their committees is Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff, we all know, was one of the lead impeachment managers for former President Trump during those hearings, and Swalwell has repeatedly been under the microscope for the past couple of years after his alleged connections with a Chinese spy, which his staffers say Swalwell hasn't had any contact with for years. Now, it's important to note that McCarthy cannot single-handedly remove these Democrats from those committees. A simple majority vote would need to hold for that to take place. Similarly, McCarthy does need a simple majority vote in order to take the Speaker's gavel. And this is the reason Adam Schiff says why McCarthy is making these announcements right now, saying that he does aim to remove these Democrats from their committees. Schiff says that he thinks this is a way that this is a method that McCarthy is using to shore up more Republican support, because Republicans right now are just sitting at 219 seats in the House. That's a very slim margin. McCarthy does need 218 votes to win the speakership. And right now, he does not have that 100% support. Steve, back to you.
Melina, thank you. A top Democrat senator is agreeing with former President Trump. Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, told Fox News that the former president was right about banning TikTok.
I think Donald Trump was right. I mean, TikTok is an enormous threat. It's a threat on 2 levels. One, it is a massive collector of information, oftentimes of our children. They can visualize even down to your keystrokes.
Warner also said that parents should be concerned because the data kids input on TikTok is collected and the content is controlled by Beijing. He said that when it comes to TikTok, it's the Chinese Communist Party that has the ultimate say.
TikTok, in a sense, is a broadcasting network, in a sense. And if the Chinese Communist Party and TikTok at the end of the day has to be reliant on the Communist Party, the China law states that.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is also cautioning parents about TikTok. In a tweet yesterday, he said, "Get your kids and grandkids off of TikTok. It's a data harvesting spy tool for the Chinese Communist Party." And as Thanksgiving approaches, the White House celebrates the holiday season by pardoning 2 turkeys. NTD's Iris Tao has more on Biden's pardoning.
Kicking off Thanksgiving week at the White House, President Biden pardoning a pair of Thanksgiving turkeys. That marks the 75th anniversary of this most American of traditions.
Chocolate, you are pardoned. You are pardoned. You said you had to tell me that? Yeah, you are. Yeah, I'm serious. Do you want to talk? No, yeah.
And the two lucky birds come from North Carolina, and they're named Chocolate and Chip. And in case you're wondering what's happening to them next, of course they won't end up on your dining table because they're pardoned. Instead, they'll live out the rest of their lives at North Carolina State University's College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. And before they head back, they'll be enjoying some luxurious accommodations at a hotel in the nation's capital. And here's Biden's message to Americans.
Thank God, to be grateful for what we have. That's what the Thanksgiving tradition is all about. And grateful for fellow Americans who we may never meet, but who will be, there you go.
Meanwhile, President Biden also touched on the midterm elections, dismissing what was expected to be a red wave.
The only red wave this season is going to be a German Shepherd commander knocks over the cranberry sauce on our table.
And after the ceremony, President Biden, First Lady Jill Biden are heading to North Carolina, where they'll be having a Friendsgiving with troops and their families.
From the Biden family to all of yours, happy Thanksgiving, and may God bless you all.
And Biden will spend the rest of the week in Nantucket, Massachusetts, where he'll be celebrating Thanksgiving with his family. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Lieutenant Colonel Bradley Miller, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm really appreciative of the opportunity to talk with you.
Absolutely, Colonel. A lot of people might not realize, but the aftermath of the vaccine mandates persist, affecting so many lives, you being one of them. Despite data showing that the vaccine does not stop the spread of the coronavirus, you, Lieutenant Colonel, were a battalion commander, have been forced to resign from your post because of the mandate. If you could, tell us your story.
Yeah, so that's true. So I, former Lieutenant Colonel in the Army. I did resign from the Army after 19 years and 3 months of service. So I did not quite make it to 20. And I resigned after I saw what the DOD leadership was doing with the vaccine mandate. And that was immediately after having been relieved of command. So I was relieved of command in October of 2021, 2 months after the implementation of the vaccine mandate.
And if I could ask you, could you have or did you apply for a religious exemption?
I did not. I was a hard refusal, not because I do not have extreme religious objections to these injections. I do, but in my mind, and this is my particular view. Not everyone else holds this, but in my mind, having a religious objection, in my mind, would almost be to concede that the shots are safe or to concede that the shots are effective. Neither of which I'm willing to concede. So for me, it was not just a matter of the research or the development that went into the production of the shots, but I also just won't concede that they're safe or effective. So for me, even getting to the point where I was willing to entertain some sort of exception was a non-starter for me. The other thing is that I did not want an exception for myself. I was against this mandate from 0 to 100. I want it rescinded wholesale. I still want it rescinded wholesale. At no time was I looking for an exception for myself.
So just back to your first point, when you resigned, you said you were just shy of 20 years. Do you still get your full benefit package and everything that you should?
No, I did not retire. I resigned. I'm not a lieutenant colonel retired. I'm a former lieutenant colonel, and I like to say that I'm happily resigned, and I'll explain why. So yes, I gave up my command. I gave up my career. I gave up my retirement pension, but I still think I came out a winner because after 19 years of service, I left the Army with my integrity intact and my oath to the Constitution unbroken. Wow,
that's really incredible. There's been a lot of talk and concern of the term wokeness in the military. Do you attribute your challenges, pushing back on the vaccine mandate, to the so-called wokeness in the military?
Yes and no. I don't think that the vaccine mandate is a direct outgrowth of the wokeness, but I think the two are related. And I think they're both products of a long-standing cultural malaise that is extant in the military and also in society at large. And so what I think that we're seeing in the military is just a reflection of what we're seeing right now in our American institutions.
Now, the former president, in his announcement for his next presidential bid, former President Trump said if reelected, he would reinstate all members of the military forced out because of the mandates. What's your opinion to that stance, reaction, and would you return?
So I think that's the only correct action that could be taken. And I also would say merely reinstating those who were forced out one way or another is not enough. There needs to be substantial compensation. Also, there needs to be accountability for those who perpetrated this this malpractice, this misconduct against not just DOD, but also the nation at large. Would I return? That's a great question, and I can't give a definitive yes or no, but I can give a probably not. And that's because what we're seeing here is not it's not a singular event. It's the product of the corrosion of institutions over a very long period of time. And while I have nothing against the armed forces, I have nothing against them as an institution. I'm proud to have served for 19 years. I'm proud to be a West Point graduate. But the people that have thoroughly captured these institutions have completely corrupted them. I don't know that I could return without wholesale realignment of DOD's priorities.
Former Lieutenant Colonel Bradley Miller, thank you.
Thank you.
America's largest union of railroad workers has rejected a labor deal. That means they might go on strike during the run-up to the holidays. A strike could cost the U.S. economy as much as $2 billion per day. The Union of Train Conductors narrowly voted to reject the deal proposed by the Biden administration. They're staying on the job while negotiations start up again, but the December 9th strike deadline does loom. At least 3 other rail unions have also rejected negotiated contracts. And if even one of the 12 railroad unions does go on strike, the other 11 would honor the picket lines shutting down railroads. But that also means going up against Congress. If unions cannot reach new deals before the strike deadline, Congress could order railroad workers to remain on the job or return to work. Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.